Someone recently said, if you still look young after 60, you probably just didn't live a full life. And to that I say, with a gentle grin, maybe it's the heaviness of trying too hard that ages us, not the living. Welcome, dear heart, to Buddhist Wisdom for the Elderly, where we believe you can have laugh lines and a light spirit, crow's feet and clarity, grief and grace. You see, looking younger isn't about luck or lotion. It's about what you've released, what you've forgiven, what you no longer carry in your jaw, your shoulders, or your soul. Stay with me, because today we're exploring 7 hidden truths about look and feel younger than your age. And they're probably not the lessons you thought. They're the ones hiding in plain sight in your daily life, just waiting to be noticed. If you only watch one part, make it part 4. You've let go of the need to be useful. That one? It's a life changer. It's about shedding the hustle and rediscovering the holiness of simply being. So like, subscribe, and help us reach 1,000 beautiful subscribers who believe aging can be sacred. Now take a breath. You're right on time. Let's begin. Part 1. You've stopped clinging to the person you used to be. You don't grow old when your body changes. You grow old when you start arguing with it. Have you ever met someone who introduces themselves like they're applying for a job they lost 30 years ago? I used to run my own business. I played college ball. I was quite the looker back then. And you just smile politely, wondering if they realize they've been talking about their 1987 self longer than they've been present in this conversation. We all do it. We mourn our past selves like we're flipping through an old yearbook at a wake. Look at that hair, we sigh. Look at those thighs. What happened? But here's the real kicker. Nothing happened. You just changed. And the only one struggling with that change is your mind. Your body? She's doing her best, bless her. She's just trying to keep you alive long enough to get over yourself. You see, the people who seem to glow, who walk into a room and somehow shine like they swallowed the sun, they're not clinging to who they used to be. They're too busy being who they are now. They've stopped trying to win some invisible battle with time. They've fired their inner historian. They've kissed the past on the cheek and said, "Thank you, sweetheart, but I've got things to do." And that, my friend, is what keeps them young. Now, this might sound a bit Buddhist, and it is, but there's a lovely little idea called anatta, which basically says, there is no permanent you. And before you panic, good news. That means you're off the hook. You don't have to keep pretending to be the hotshot, the sweetheart, the mother of the year, the boss, the heartbreaker, the healer, the strong one, the fixer, the always in control one. They were costumes. They were lovely. But honey, it's intermission. You can take them off. The truth is, you are not who you were at 30 or 50 or even yesterday. You're a constantly changing, beautifully chaotic, sometimes annoying, often brilliant moment of consciousness wrapped in a squishy body doing its best. And the more you let go of who you think you're supposed to be, the more your body can relax. The face softens, the eyes twinkle. You stop looking like someone under siege by their own memories, and you start looking kind of radiant. I once met a woman named Mabel. She was 82 and wore her age like a shawl. Soft, warm, and occasionally covered in cat hair. At the retreat center, we sat together drinking tea, and I asked her the usual polite nonsense. "How are you adjusting to aging?" She laughed. "Darling, I stopped looking in the mirror when I turned 70. Every time I did, I was searching for the 30-year-old me. She's gone. And honestly, she was kind of uptight. I liked this version better." And she meant it. That year, she took up painting. The next, she joined a laughter yoga group. Not to stay young, just to feel alive. And people noticed. They'd say, "Mabel, you look amazing." And she'd say, "I stopped trying." See, clinging ages you. Not just spiritually, but in the very bones. The eyebrows start to furrow. The jaw gets tight. The smile becomes conditional. And the irony? You're clinging to a memory, a mental selfie of a moment that's already over. Let go of that photo. Step into the frame you're in now. You're not a has-been, you're a becoming. There's something about accepting yourself that sends a message to the cells. It says, we're safe now. And the body responds like a dog finally let off the leash. Calmer, looser, friendlier. You start to glow not because you're younger, but because you're finally not resisting getting older. So here's the invitation. Next time you find yourself reminiscing about the good old days, go ahead and smile. Bless them, love them. Then ask yourself, who am I now? Not who you were, not who you think you should be, just who you are in this very weird, beautiful, aching, hilarious moment of being human. Because youth isn't about having fewer years behind you, it's about having less of yourself in front of you. And when you stop dragging your old self around like a carry-on bag full of nostalgia and unresolved issues, well, you just might find that you're not tired anymore. You're free. Part 2. You practice emptiness, but not in a sad way. You're not tired because you're old. You're tired because your mind has too many tabs open. Let's clear something up right now. Emptiness gets a bad rap. When people hear emptiness, they picture something bleak, like sitting alone in a beige room eating plain oatmeal while the clock ticks louder than your heartbeat. Sounds depressing, right? But in Buddhism, emptiness isn't sad. It's not about having nothing. It's about not being owned by anything. Big difference. Let me explain it the way a tired old monk once explained it to me in a kitchen while we were peeling carrots. He said, the bowl is useful because of the space inside it. If it were full of old soup all the time, it'd be useless. That's you. You're the bowl. And if your mind is full of leftover soup, old regrets, unresolved arguments, grocery lists, fantasies, grudges, you've got no room left for anything fresh. No wonder you feel heavy. No wonder your body starts to sag. It's just trying to hold up the mental hoarding. And let's be honest, we all hoard in our heads. Some of us collect past mistakes like vintage records. Some hoard anxieties like their coupons for a future disaster. And others hold on to their identities like antiques. Don't touch that, it's who I am. But those who stay young, they empty the bowl. Have you ever met someone in their 70s or 80s who just radiates this delicious sense of peace? Not boring peace, not check out my bonsai tree peace. I mean the kind of peace that makes you feel like you can finally exhale around them. It's because they're not stuffed with unnecessary thought furniture. They've cleared the attic, swept the basement, rehomed all the psychic clutter, and you can feel it in the room. They laugh a little easier. Their eyes aren't scanning the horizon for things to fix. They're not in a hurry to win arguments or prove anything. They've traded performance for presence. And that, my friend, is youth. Now, don't get me wrong, emptying the mind doesn't mean you don't care. It just means you've stopped renting out space to things that don't pay rent. Like old heartbreaks, imaginary conversations with people who don't respect you, achievements you're still trying to win to impress a parent who's been dead for 10 years. You can let that go now. Really. Because once the clutter's cleared, what's left isn't sad. It's spacious. Spacious enough for wonder. Spacious enough to feel the breeze on your cheek without needing to post about it. Spacious enough to laugh when the toast burns instead of having an existential crisis. There's a word in Zen, shunyata, emptiness, but the good kind. It's the kind of emptiness that allows light to pour in. And when you practice this kind of emptiness, when you're no longer dragging a whole library of mental content around with you, your face shows it. Your posture lifts, your digestion improves, even your knees creak a little less. You start looking like someone who's not burdened. And people can't put their finger on it, so they say, "You look amazing." Or, "What's your skincare routine?" And you just smile and say, "I stopped thinking so much." So here's a little exercise for you. Open your mental junk drawer. Find the oldest, dustiest, most useless thought you keep returning to. Maybe it's an argument you had in 1993. Maybe it's some idea that you should have been more successful, more beautiful, more disciplined. Now gently pick it up and toss it in the imaginary bin. Watch it float away. You don't need to carry everything. You were never meant to. You're a soul, not a storage unit. Those who glow in their later years aren't glowing because they're lucky. They're glowing because they've made room for the glow. They've made peace with the silence in the bowl, and they've realized that nothingness, real, holy nothingness, is the most beautiful foundation to build joy upon. Part 3. You're not afraid to be seen in your vulnerability. Your wrinkles are not flaws. They're laugh lines, grief rivers, and tiny tattoos of courage. Let's be honest, most of us spend the first half of life trying not to fall apart in front of people, and the second half pretending we never did. We develop these polished social masks, some of them so well crafted they could be in a museum. Look how emotionally well adjusted I am. Observe how calm I remain under pressure. See how I never cry during commercials. But the people who stay young, not just in body but in presence, are the ones who've tossed that whole performance in the donation pile. They've stopped trying to keep it together all the time. And in doing so, they've come undone in the most beautiful way. You see, there's this strange cultural myth that vulnerability makes you look weak. Like if you're sad or scared or confused, you're somehow less worthy of love or admiration. Or less together. But here's the truth. The people who seem most together are usually the ones who've just gotten really good at hiding. And hiding is exhausting. It takes work. It tightens your shoulders. It hardens your face. It builds a shell around your heart. And all that inner tension, your body turns it into forehead lines, jaw tightness, a stiff walk, and eyes that say, please don't look too closely. But vulnerability, oh sweet soul, vulnerability is a spa day for your spirit. Let me tell you about Henry. He was 74 when I met him. Wore plaid shirts, always had trail mix in his pocket, and had a laugh that sounded like it came from somewhere below his ribcage. At one of our gatherings, he started telling a story about his late wife, and halfway through he stopped. His chin quivered, his eyes welled up, and he said, I miss her. I really do. And then he cried, not politely, not the kind of crying you apologize for. He cried the way someone cries when they've finally stopped trying to be impressive. And you know what happened? Nobody ran. Nobody squirmed. The room softened. He softened, and I swear to you, he looked 10 years younger by the time he finished. It's not magic, it's biology. When we let emotion flow, the stress hormones drop, the muscles relax, the immune system says, oh thank God, we're not at war anymore, and suddenly the body stops aging like it's dodging landmines. So why do the most youthful souls we meet seem so emotionally open? Because they're not hoarding emotions anymore. They've stopped bottling them up and labeling them too much, or inappropriate, or let's deal with this never. They laugh loudly. They cry when the soup reminds them of their mother. They talk about fear, and they don't wait for permission to do so. Their faces aren't stiff with protection. They're alive with expression. Their eyes sparkle, not because they're untouched by pain, but because they're no longer hiding from it. Now I know. It's scary to let yourself be seen. Really seen. We all have that trembling little voice inside that says, what if they don't like the real me? But I've got news for you, dear one. The real you is the only one people can actually love. And the more you show up in your full, messy, tender, glorious humanity, the more others will drop their own masks too. It's contagious, this kind of courage. So if you've ever been told you look younger than your age, maybe it's not because you've aged less. Maybe it's because you've carried less. You're not afraid to feel. You're not ashamed to love. You're not too proud to cry. And that right there is the fountain of youth. Not in your skincare routine, but in your willingness to be nakedly, beautifully human. So cry if you need to. Laugh until you snort. Let the tears roll and the belly shake and the heart stretch wide open. You'll look better than ever, because nothing is more radiant than a soul unafraid to be seen. Part 4. You've let go of the need to be useful. You're not here to be productive. You're here to be present. The plants will forgive you. At some point in life, usually after your 3rd gray hair and your 5th cup of coffee, you begin to realize that you've spent a large portion of your life trying to justify your own existence. I'm valuable because I work hard. I matter because I take care of everyone. I deserve to rest, but only after I vacuum the ceiling fan and fix the roof with duct tape. We spend decades auditioning for worthiness like life is an unpaid internship. And the cruel joke? Even after we retire, we don't stop. We just rebrand it. Now it's, I must stay active, or I should still be contributing, or I better not look like I've given up. But those who look truly young, those ageless souls who seem to glow from somewhere deeper than their skincare routine, they've stumbled upon a secret. They've stopped trying to be useful. Now, before the overachiever inside you starts twitching, this isn't about laziness. It's about freedom. When you stop tying your value to your productivity, something miraculous happens. Your body stops clenching, your mind unclenches, your forehead unfurrows, your jaw unlocks. Suddenly, your whole being whispers, "Oh, thank God, we're done performing." And just like that, without trying, you look younger. Because here's the thing, constant striving is stressful. Stress is inflammation. Inflammation is aging. And no, that wrinkle didn't come from laughing too hard. It came from 3 decades of trying to prove to someone who's not watching that you're enough. I once met a man named Carl who, after 40 years in finance, decided to spend his retirement painting rocks. Yes, rocks. He'd sit in his garage, listen to jazz, and paint tiny flowers and Buddha faces onto stones he found on walks. At first, he felt guilty about it. "What am I even doing with my time?" he'd mutter. But then one day, while sipping tea and looking at his latest masterpiece, a rock with a smiling sun, he laughed and said, "You know what? This is it. I don't have to justify this to anyone. I'm alive. That's enough." Carl looked 10 years younger after that. Not because the rocks had magical powers, though I wouldn't rule it out, but because he had stopped hustling for his right to rest. In our culture, we confuse purpose with productivity. But real purpose? It's much quieter. Sometimes it's just sitting with a cat, or holding your partner's hand without needing to say anything wise, or humming while making soup, or showing up exactly as you are. No name tag, no title, no measurable output, just a presence, soft and unpolished and beautiful. And when you let yourself be that kind of presence, you become something ancient and holy. You become someone who doesn't need to perform to be lovable. And youth? Well, youth catches on to that. Part 5. You live in don't know mind. The older I get, the less I know. And that, my friend, is the best news I've ever received. There's a certain look people get when they've decided they know everything. You've seen it. Their brows furrow like unpaid bills. Their lips purse into permanent disapproval. They walk through life like exhausted tour guides, explaining everything, solving nothing, and joylessly herding reality into neat little boxes labeled right and wrong. And they look tired. Not just physically, existentially tired. Like they've been carrying the weight of certainty on their back since the Nixon administration. Now contrast that with someone who says, I never thought about it that way, or I'm still figuring that out, or my personal favorite, I don't know. And mean it. They light up the room, their face is softer, their eyes shine like children discovering bubbles for the first time. They live in don't know mind. And it's not confusion, it's freedom. In Zen, Shoshin means beginner's mind. It's the opposite of the worn-out expert who stopped listening sometime around 1984. Beginner's mind is open, humble, curious. It doesn't try to fix the mystery, it plays with it. And let me tell you, nothing keeps you young like curiosity. Curiosity is your soul sticking its head out the window like a dog on the freeway. It's what makes you sign up for pottery at 72, or try TikTok at 68, or fall in love again when you swore off romance back in 1993. You don't get old because your knees ache. You get old when you stop wondering. I once sat next to a woman at a retreat. Let's call her Susan. She was in her late 70s and knitting something that looked suspiciously like a failed hat. She leaned over to me and said, "I'm trying to learn quantum physics on YouTube. I don't understand a damn thing. But isn't it marvelous?" And it was. She was. There was a glow around her, not from enlightenment, but from aliveness. She didn't care if she ever got it. She just liked being surprised. You see, people who live in don't know mind aren't trying to win life. They're trying to experience it. And the body can tell. The skin gets softer, the eyes brighter, the breath deeper. Because when you're not pretending to be certain, you're finally allowed to relax. Now I know, I don't know. Doesn't fly in job interviews or dinner debates. But in the real work of being human, it's divine. Because I don't know is the door you walk through to find God, or wonder, or maybe just the answer to how to use your new blender without summoning a demon. It's the start of every meaningful thing. So what does this have to do with looking younger? Everything. Certainty is rigid, and rigidity makes you brittle, and brittleness breaks, not just in bones, but in presence. Curiosity is supple. It bends, it plays, it learns, it grows. And youthfulness lives where growth lives. So if someone tells you you don't look your age, maybe it's because you never stopped learning. Maybe it's because you ask good questions and listen for better answers. Maybe it's because you dance with mystery instead of trying to punch it in the face. Part 6. You carry joy like a monk carries a bowl. If the divine ever had a ringtone, it would probably be laughter. Let me start by saying something you may not hear at your next physical. Joy is medicine. Not the "I just got a discount on socks" kind of joy, although that's nice too. I mean deep, soul-warming, full-body joy. The kind that makes your eyes crinkle, your belly shake, and your heart feel like it just took off its shoes. Now, some people treat joy like it's dessert, optional, reserved for after the important stuff is done. First, I solve the world's problems, organize the garage, and fix everyone's emotional issues. Then maybe I'll sit on the porch and enjoy a mango. But those who look startlingly young for their age, they carry joy like a monk carries a bowl, carefully, reverently, and often. I met a man once named James, 83 years old, suspenders, twinkle in his eye, and a laugh that could lift depression off a houseplant. One morning, over breakfast at a retreat, I asked him what the secret to his vitality was. He looked around the table, leaned in, and whispered, "I take silliness very seriously." Then he laughed so hard he almost dropped his toast. James wasn't pretending that life was easy. He'd lost a child, survived cancer, watched friends fade into memory, but he had made a decision somewhere along the line. Life was too precious to be lived without joy, and the joy wasn't naive, it was defiant, sacred, like lighting a candle in a cave and daring it to stay lit. In Buddhist practice, there's a beautiful concept called mudita, sympathetic joy. It's the joy that arises not just when you're happy, but when someone else is. It's laughing when your friend wins something you wanted, and genuinely celebrating with them. It's the smile that doesn't require your ego to be the center of attention. And mudita doesn't wrinkle you. It doesn't tighten your jaw. It doesn't make your stomach clench. It relaxes you. It makes your skin glow. It brings color back into your cheeks, sometimes literally. You see, a lot of us grew up with the idea that seriousness equals maturity. We learned to frown thoughtfully, to nod with solemn agreement, to say, life isn't about fun, it's about responsibility. But look closely at the people who truly shine as they age. They're not always the ones who followed the rules. They're the ones who sing while cooking, who wear polka dot socks, who dance like nobody's knees hurt. They've realized something that serious people often miss. Joy isn't a distraction. It's the reward. So if someone tells you that you look younger than your age, maybe it's not the eye cream. Maybe it's because you laugh when you spill the soup. Maybe it's because you found delight in the way your dog's ears flop when he runs. Maybe it's because deep down you decided that joy isn't something you wait for. It's something you carry, like a monk with a bowl. Not clinging, not hoarding, just holding it lightly, ready to share. Here's a simple practice. Every day, find one tiny ridiculous thing and let it delight you. It could be a bird hopping like it's got rhythm, a toddler covered in spaghetti, the weird little sound your sink makes when you talk about politics. Laugh, not because you should, but because your spirit can. That giggle you let loose in aisle 7, that might be the exact moment your soul hit the refresh button. Part 7. You've stopped trying to win life. When you stop competing, you start glowing. Peace is surprisingly flattering. Let me ask you something gently. Are you trying to win? No, really. Are you still trying to win life? Trying to be the best, the most successful, the most helpful, the most enlightened, the fittest, the wisest grandparent, the cleanest eater, the most emotionally intelligent person in the coffee line? If you are, I get it. We were all handed a scoreboard somewhere around age 5. And ever since, we've been racking up points. Gold stars, promotions, compliments, good deeds, perfect lawn. Family photos that scream, "We're doing amazing, sweetie." But here's what the truly radiant, ageless people know. The game is made up, and they've stopped playing it. You can tell too. They walk a little slower, not because they have to, but because they're not rushing to impress anyone. They smile when they're interrupted. They don't mind not being right. They let others talk without mentally crafting their comeback. And they don't seem to be trying to win anything because they've already arrived. Now don't get me wrong, ambition is fine. Goals are cute. Even spiritual progress is charming in its own way. But if you're trying to outrun death by stacking enough accomplishments, you're going to be exhausted and wrinkled. People who glow at 70, 80, 90, they've surrendered the race. They've realized they're not behind, or ahead, or even in a race at all. They're just here, watering the plants, listening to the wind, saying, "I don't know," more often. And somehow, they start to look timeless. I knew a woman named Ruth. She was 86 and made cookies that could start international peace talks. One day I asked her if she had any regrets. She paused and said, "Only one. I wish I'd stopped caring about winning sooner. I could have started enjoying losing a lot earlier." And then she laughed. That laugh. The kind that makes you feel like you're suddenly 10 pounds lighter and loved by the universe. Ruth didn't win life, but she lived it, and her skin, radiant. There's a beautiful Buddhist teaching, tanha, where craving is the root of suffering. And when you stop craving applause, results, validation, enlightenment, eternal youth, or a perfect credit score, what's left? Peace, space, the kind of quiet joy that doesn't need a reason. And people see it in your face. Your shoulders drop. Your eyes twinkle without trying. You stop scowling at the passage of time like it owes you something. And the best part? You finally get to rest. Not because you're finished, but because you stopped pretending you were behind. So if someone tells you, "Wow, you look so young for your age," maybe it's not the green juice. Maybe it's not your morning walk. Maybe it's not even the moisturizer you bought that smelled like rosemary and high hopes. Maybe it's this. You're done competing. You've stopped measuring. You've stopped proving. You've stopped trying to win. And in that moment, your whole being whispers, "I'm enough." And that, my friend, is the most youthful sentence you will ever say. So here we are, 7 surprising sacred reasons why you might look younger than your age. Not because life spared you, but because you learned to carry it with a lighter heart. You stopped clinging to who you were. You emptied the junk drawer of your mind. You let your emotions breathe. You gave up being useful and remembered how to simply be. You stayed curious, laughed for no reason, and finally stopped trying to win the game. And that, my friend, is the secret glow people see on your face. It's the radiance of someone who's no longer fighting time, but dancing with it. If even one of these truths made your shoulders drop or your heart open, pass that feeling on. Share this with someone who needs it. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear the wisdom you've gathered along your journey. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and help us reach 1,000 loving souls walking this path together. Let's keep showing the world that aging isn't a decline. It's a return to essence. Until next time, keep your heart open and your teacup half full. You're not getting older. You're just getting lighter.